Okay, we will get started in about 45 seconds. Good evening. Welcome to Candidates Night. My name is James Cooper, and I am the President and CEO of the Vallejo Chamber of Commerce. It is an honor and a privilege to be your moderator for tonight. This forum is sponsored by the Benicia Chamber of Commerce as a public service. The questions will be selected from cards submitted and will not be returned. Although the event takes place in the City of Benicia City Council chambers, this is not a city-sponsored event. The City of Benicia does not endorse the views and/or comments made during the broadcast event, and the Benicia Chamber of Commerce has paid for the use of these facilities. This forum will be televised on local cable channel 27 and rebroadcast as follows: on Wednesday, September 26th at 7 p.m., Saturday, October 6th at 10 a.m., and Monday, October 15th at 7 p.m. So for the format, each candidate will be allowed 3 minutes for an opening statement and 3 minutes for a closing statement. The written questions from the audience will follow the opening statement. The time allocated for questions tonight is 64 minutes. Questions should be addressed to all candidates. Each candidate will be limited to a 1.5 minute response to each question. We will proceed to the next question if the total response time is not used. The timer will control the time for statements and responses. A green light means keep talking, a yellow light means you have 30 seconds left, and a red light means your time is up. When the red light hits, if you're in the middle of a sentence, please go ahead and finish the sentence that you're in. So for the audience, ushers have index cards available for your use to submit questions. Please write clearly and address questions to all the candidates. Please turn in your written questions to the ushers. Due to time constraints, duplications, etc., not all questions submitted will be asked. Questions will not be returned. Okay, and so before we get started, I will just really quickly go through and introduce our 4 candidates tonight. On my left, we have William Emmies. To his left, we have Carrie Birdseye. To her left, we have Lionel Largaspada. Largaspada? Thank you. And to his left, we have Christina Strawbridge. So we will go for our opening statements. You have 3 minutes, and we will start at our left, to my left, which would give us William. William, you have 3 minutes.
I'd like to thank the Benicia Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity.
Microphone, please.
I'm sorry. I'd like to thank the Benicia Chamber of Commerce for this opportunity. I'm a little late in the campaign. Please pay attention to the fact that my website is www.electwillems.com, and I will be conducting a town hall meeting at Pizza Pirate on Solano Square tomorrow evening between 7 and 9 p.m., which is being graciously offered by Pat Absher, one of the bigger small businessmen in town. I think we always should be mindful of the contribution small businesses make to our city, in not only in the revenue they generate, but also in the spirit that they contribute to us, in the spirit of enterprise and of independence, which all of us cherish and which is desired. As I said last night in the meeting of the Progressive Democrats of Benicia, I think the major issue, the greatest challenge that our city faces is financing the quality of life that we have always wanted. Again, that's what it is, succinctly. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Carrie, you have 3 minutes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Benicia Chamber of Commerce, for hosting this forum.
It is an honor to be here with you all. It's a great turnout tonight, and I appreciate everybody coming out. And I thank those folks watching this online and watching it on Benicia's Channel 27. I'm Carrie Birdseye. I'm current chair of the Planning Commission here in Benicia, and I'm here to ask for your vote. First off, I'd like to congratulate the Chamber and Benicia's Main Street for the renaissance our downtown is now experiencing. As an 18-year resident of Benicia, my family and I have seen businesses come and go here. And it is an exciting time right now to see so many new quality businesses open their doors and thrive here in our historic town. The Chamber's mission statement is a primary goal of my campaign. Quote, to support and strengthen the local economy for a higher quality of life, placing a priority on long-term economic vitality of our community while maintaining the historic small town charm will take proactive thinking. Getting our city government to a place where we can be less reactive to crises and work towards what Benicia looks like 10, 20, 50 years from now will take some time and some smart leadership. How can we make Benicia a place where our children and grandchildren can come back to raise a family? If elected, I pledge to work hard to bring together the best thinking on this issue. It may take updating zoning ordinances, more resources at our economic development level at the city. It could include bringing in experts from other cities and counties who have successfully mapped out an economic development plan that spans decades. And I know it will be in partnership with this Chamber of Commerce. Another rich area to ensure economic sustainability of our town is polishing our industrial park into the jewel that it can be, updating the area's infrastructure, repairing roads, offering affordable high-speed internet access will attract new businesses that can help us diversify our tax base. Tonight, I look forward to discussing my additional priorities and making Benicia the best that it can be, but I will close now by saying I want to be your good neighbor at City Hall. As I've proven on the Planning Commission, I have rich, open discussions, and I want to do that on the City Council too. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Lionel, you have 3 minutes.
Well, I also want to thank the Chamber. I also want to thank the residents and attendants. Hello.
Microphone, please.
Watching at home. I also that button. So let me start over. Thank you to Benicia Chamber. Thank you to the residents and our guests and attendants. I also want to say hello to everyone watching at home, including my family, who has gathered at my sister's house to celebrate my nephew's birthday. So happy birthday, Miles. God bless you. Friends, my name is Lionel Largaspada, and serving Benicia is my passion. As a longtime resident, husband, and father of 2 girls who attend Benicia Public Schools, I have built a record of community service in our community. I currently serve as the chairman of the Economic Development Board. This is my 2nd term. I sit on the Advocacy Committee at Benicia Chamber, the Design Committee at Benicia Main Street. I also advise Carquinez Village, which, if you haven't heard of this organization, is a wonderful group that is doing extraordinary things to support seniors in our community. In addition, I also mentor at Benicia Middle School and have served as a fundraiser at Matthew Turner Elementary, where my children and my nephews and nieces attended, and raised nearly $200,000 on behalf of the kids at that school. I also capo the son of a bocces in our glorious Benicia Bocce Ball League. But what I am most proud of is my association with the Benicia Historical Society. I am privileged and honored to be part of the community, or the committee, that puts together our Benicia Memorial Day ceremony, which hands down is the best event for 100 miles around. I am running for Benicia City Council as an independent to bring balance back to our local government. I will be a check on any monopoly of power in this city. As your council member, I will stand up for you. I am running to give a voice to all residents, including our stakeholders and our businesses, large and small. As your council member, I will work every day to keep Benicia safe and family-friendly. We will preserve her history and heritage, and we will find solutions to our rising water and sewer costs. We will expand street maintenance across this community, and we will do that through economic development rather than raising taxes and more fees. If you want balance on the city council, if you want a council that listens and acts on your behalf, then I humbly ask that you vote Lionel Largaspada for city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Lionel. Christina, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I will also thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on, and I know this is a tough week for them because of the Handicraft Fair this Saturday. So understand, my campaign is Back for the Future of Benicia. I'm committed to the past, the present, and the future of our town. As you all know, or most of you know, I served on the City Council for 5 years and made a lot of tough decisions and some really fun decisions sitting at that chair over there. One of them was our Crude by Rail project that ended up a unanimous decision to deny that project. I was one of the votes for water rates increases. We dealt with the drought, historic drought. We funded a business retention improvement for our businesses out in the industrial park. And talking about the bocce ball courts, that was a private-public partnership, which I'm really proud of, that we were able to join together to get those additional bocce ball courts built for these guys to play on. And we did all that and maintained our 20% reserve. During my time on the council, I took no benefits and no salary, which saved the city $125,000 in the 5 years. When I'm elected, I will continue with that pledge of not taking any funds based on the fact that our city is continuing having fiscal issues. In economic development, I have a strong record as a board member of economic development, but also their chair. Our tourism effort got launched at that time, the Great Day by the Bay, which attracts visitors from all over the world, literally, to our town of Benicia. We also implemented a business action plan, which I brought tonight, which has been on the shelf since 2011 when we adopted it. But it gives us a pathway on economic development for our town. And these are things that we really need to look at going forward. The other area that we implemented was the BID, which we took 20 years to put into action, and it lit up First Street with the twinkle lights in the trees. I'm a small business owner, have owned Christina S. for 13 years, and I'm one of the long-lasting businesses on First Street. I live here, I work here, and I pay taxes and employ residents. I started the Farmers Market back in 1993, along with other wonderful events that people love to come to. I have done a lot of fundraising for the community, for Sutter Solano Hospital, for our CAC Senior Meals Program, and I'm proud of the things that I've been able to contribute back to Benicia. I have a passion for this town, as you can tell, and I want to serve you again on the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Okay, so we will now move on to questions.
The questions, sir.
Thank you. So the way we're going to do the questions is we will start with one candidate, and then we will move to your candidates, to the candidates left, and we will go through each question. All four of you will have the chance to answer. You will get 90 seconds per candidate. I'm going to start this first question with Carrie. How do you stand on the industrial safety ordinance?
I think the industrial safety ordinance that's been proposed to City Council is deserved to be reviewed. I am all for better communications between our great neighbor, Valero Refinery, and the community at large. I think at heart of the ordinance is better communications and also better data on what's in our air. Right now, most of us don't know what's in our air because we don't have access to real-time data from the fence line and community air monitoring stations. And that's what we need, and that's really what the industrial safety ordinance is about. I think it's misnamed. I think it should be a community involvement ordinance, and I think it would do a lot to repair some damaged relationships between the community and Valero.
Thank you, Carrie. Lionel, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So there are at least 5 points I want to make on the ISO. First, my number one priority as your next council member is public safety. It is the number one priority for any elected official from Benicia all the way to the nation's capital. 2, I believe Benicia should have an active climate and environmental policy. 3, I am for the air monitors. 4, I also strongly believe that the City Council should be very active and vigilant over the county's execution of Program 4, which is essentially the state version of the ISO, which by all accounts is the most comprehensive program that's available nationwide. And 5th, I am also very supportive of expanding our command centers, but I would take that beyond Valero. I think we should have command centers with airports. I think we should have command centers with our schools. I think we should have command centers with every vulnerable, sensitive asset here in town. Part of the ISO really is a question about leadership. We didn't have to wait for there to be a flaring incident at Valero for us to take all these actions. I assure you, as the next council member, public safety is what I will think about every day, working with council, fellow council members, and the city staff. And we will correct and amend our ordinances and our processes along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Lionel. Christina, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. I was one of the few candidates that did come before council when the ISO was presented. I have some concerns about the way it was presented. I don't think the public had a lot of oversight in what it entailed. And I also feel like the council and the staff really didn't have a lot of time when it was presented. So I think we need more time to review it. I think that it has brought people to the table, which has been really important. Our city manager now is meeting with the manager of Valero on a regular basis. We're now talking about these fence monitors. Many of us don't even know what that means as a fence monitor versus a community monitor. And these are things that we need more information about, more education. And as Lionel said, you know, we are all interested in safety. We want to know what we're breathing, and we want to know what's in our water. So I think it's given us an opportunity for that communication, and let's see what Valero can do with the time that they have in proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, Valero and Benicia asked for candidates to interview for this go-between committee, and I believe that I am the only individual here that answered to Valero. And given that, I think you should take that to mean that I'm willing to negotiate honestly going forward. I'm the only one here that has any direct experience with flaring, and I'd like to share that experience with you in my town meeting tomorrow between 7 and 9 o'clock at Pizza Pirate. I believe that we should give Valero the time to meet the minimum requirements that we're requesting of them, that the state is requesting, and that we should have the confidence in whoever we do elect to negotiate going forward to even getting better requirements over time is that it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, tell that.
Over time, my 15 years experience working refineries, they have continually become better. It takes time to do this. To demand that it occur instantly in 5 years is unrealistic given the historic record. And I'm very pleased with Benicia at setting the standard for bringing crude by rail into the state of California. Currently, we are not doing that in the state, and Benicia was part of that.
Thank you, William. Okay, our next question, we will start with Lionel. What is your opinion of political practices endorsing candidates in our nonpartisan election? You have 90 seconds.
Sure. Well, campaigns are about building coalitions, and we build coalitions because candidates should represent every resident and stakeholder who is interested in being part of the process, a process that entails bringing benefits and success to our community. So in sum, I have no issue with endorsements. If anything, it validates the potential and the promise of a candidate. I am proud of the endorsements that I have received thus far. I've been endorsed by the Benicia Police Officers Association, Benicia Firefighters Association, the Benicia Teachers Association, and the Napa Solano Central Labor Council. I'm humbled by their support, and as mentioned, it's an indication that that candidate is good for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Lionel. Christina, you have 90 seconds.
Well, we're not supposed to be having it's supposed to be a nonpartisan race. We all go after different endorsements. For instance, I'm a lifetime Democrat. I went for the different Democratic clubs and did not receive any of those endorsements. However, I've been endorsed by some of our top elected officials like Congressman Thompson, Bill Dodd, Tim Grayson, Aaron Hannigan, and it strengthens because a lot of our folks here in Benicia are Democrats. So by going and asking for those endorsements, it only adds to my portfolio as far as endorsements. I've also been endorsed by some of the similar ones that Lionel had, the Labor Council, which I'm very proud of because it's working men and women in our area, our teachers who teach our children, educate our children, and our firefighters, our first responders. Today I was endorsed by the Sierra Club, which I'm also very proud of. So even though it's nonpartisan, I think in this day and age, we're partisan. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
I certainly believe that everyone is welcome to an opinion. However, I don't think the police and fire department should be allowed or encouraged to endorse a candidate because whoever prevails in the election is going to be setting the rules for these public safety people. And I think that constitutes some sort of undue influence, and that may be a reason why they didn't endorse me. Another thing, that would be one of the first changes I made as an official. I went to our librarian, Mr. Dodd, and I asked him, could we ask the candidates to show in public what they wrote in order to get an endorsement? And I hope that nobody gave away the farm, but I would like to know what exactly they told those groups in order to get an endorsement. And I think that I don't really need too many endorsements because I would not be for any group. I would be for Benicia first.
Thank you, William. Carrie, you have 90 seconds.
Before we start the clock, can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. What is your opinion of political practices endorsing candidates in our nonpartisan election?
Okay, thank you for that. So I share a lot of the same thoughts on the endorsement process as we've heard from Lionel and Christina. I think it's an important part of our democratic process. I think it shows that we have community support. Regarding the political part of it, it was New York Mayor LaGuardia that said there is no Democratic or Republican way to pick up the garbage. At this level, we are all about serving our community. We are all about doing what's right for Benicia, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Having said that, I have received the endorsement today, along with Christina, from the Sierra Club. I'm very proud of that. Also, I share the endorsement with Christina of our U.S. Congressman Mike Thompson. I have the endorsement of our county supervisor, Monica Brown. I'm also endorsed by our mayor and our vice mayor of Benicia. That shows that I'm connected to this community and I care about this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, for our next question, we will start with Christina. With the passage of AB 249, financing of campaign advertisements, and other campaign financing bills, the transparency of financial contributions will be more evident to the public. To date, who are your top 3 financial contributors? Please include in this answer any corporations, PACs, or foundations. You have 90 seconds.
Okay. One of the advantage of Benicia is that we all have the opportunity to agree to limit our expenditures, and that also means what kind of donations we receive. So I believe all 4 of us have agreed that our limits are 31,000 something, and the amount from a single donation is 580, 590. So a few years ago, the open government of our town implemented this because they didn't want money to be a factor in the race. So I'm most proud of, probably my largest donator has been Senator Bill Dodd. He donated $500 to my campaign. I have received a number of over $100 donations from a lot of our citizens here, and I'm very proud of that. I also have the endorsement and also the support of some of our local unions. So I wanted to just respond to Will and what he was asking as far as what kinds of things do we agree on when we go for these endorsements. The thing I think that the unions are looking for are the same values and the same vision that we have for Benicia. I didn't promise anything but to listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
I just got back from talking with the Ironworkers Union, and I myself at one time was a union official. And what I told them was this, that I believe that everyone who works deserves a working wage, that they deserve health care, they deserve to be educated to the extent which they can demonstrate, and they deserve to be able to save for a reasonable retirement. And if joining a union is the way in which you achieve that, so be it. I talked with Jesse, who is the owner of one of the largest corporations in Benicia. Did you know that is QEC? Jesse is a 77-year-old retired iron worker, and he tells me that being in a union isn't for everybody, but what I would say that the way of life that a union represents is for everyone. Also, addressing the issue of contributions, I have no contributions given to me. I am under $1,000, and I think that's a model for the way in which I would conduct city government.
Thank you, William. Carrie, you have 90 seconds.
So I have not accepted any donations from any corporations or PACs or even businesses. I am a true believer in the individual donations making a difference, and therefore my largest contribution has come from my husband, and I am going Bernie style and getting a lot of donations from a lot of different people right now. I get $10 donations, $25 donations. I am honored and humbled at the amount of single donations that I've received from Benicians. And from officials, our county supervisor, Monica Brown, has donated $100 to my campaign.
Okay, thank you. Lionel,
Sure.
you have 90 seconds.
Right. My largest donors come from my family, my friends and neighbors here in town. as well as several business owners here in the community. And I'm thankful, I'm humbled, I'm honored. It is a privilege to run, and their show of support overwhelms me, and it just motivates me to ensure that as a future council member, I do the best for our community. I've also received donations from the ironworkers. I've also received a donation from Assemblyman Tim Grayson, and in some, I'm proud of all of the support that has come my way. Carrie referenced the Bernie money. I can't remember what you call it.
Bernie style.
Bernie style. Well, I'm also proud to say that over 2/3 of my donations are actually under $100. And what that says is there is a considerable amount of interest in my candidacy as I run for city council. It's a show of support, and I'm honored and flattered by the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Lionel. Okay, for our next question, we will start with William. The mayor and vice mayor recently wrote to Governor Brown in June requesting that all oil activity be shut down. Do you agree, yes or no?
I do not agree with it. And further, I disagree strongly with the manner in which Mayor Patterson and Vice Mayor Young communicated that to the public. Mayor Patterson compared oil companies to drug lords, and she also mentioned them catering to addicts. I take that clumsy metaphor to say that we are the addicts. That is not true. I don't believe the oil companies are drug lords, nor do I believe we are addicts. I believe that both of us are part of the solution. And watch the YouTube on KRN TV, Channel 5. That's exactly what she said. The drug lords the oil companies are drug lords, and they cater to addicts. I don't know what she's talking about. That Valero and the people in Benicia are part of the solution. That's very simple.
Thank you, William. Carrie, you have 90 seconds.
Can you repeat the question again?
The mayor and vice mayor recently wrote to Governor Brown in June requesting that all oil activity be shut down. Do you agree, yes or no?
Okay, first of all, that's factually incorrect. It was a letter from the mayor of Benicia and I believe it was the vice mayor or councilperson from Richmond. So the question is false. I believe the mayor wrote that letter to the editor or column for the San Francisco Chronicle representing her own feelings. Do I agree with them? No. And here's why. I'm a realist. I believe in a clean energy future. I walk that walk. I work towards that professionally and personally. However, I drive a car that takes gasoline. Therefore, I don't think it would make economic sense in the near future to get rid of all of our oil refineries. And I really don't like how people are saying that myself, the mayor, and the vice mayor are trying to run Valero out. That's not true. That's a falsehood. We're trying to improve communications, and when I'm elected, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Lionel, you
Sure.
have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So a couple points. One, I just want to restate the fact that I think it is prudent for Benicia to continue to have an active climate and environmental policy. Second, I am 100% behind this global effort to continue down a path to seek alternative energies. Those are all good things. With respect to the actions taken by the mayor, the vice mayor, among many other elected officials, they can do whatever they want as private citizens. But to represent the city, I thought without consent of the council or voice for the people, I thought was reckless. I think it was irresponsible. And it was irresponsible and reckless because for them, it is all or nothing. Now, I like what Carrie said, that we have to kind of approach this pragmatically, but that is not the position that the mayor and the vice mayor took. They offered us no path, no solution, no answers to anything, and that puts our community at risk because whether some of us like it or not, we do have a refinery in this community. And I would like to see that council continue to work with Valero to keep us on that path for energy diversification. But in sum, I thought that that step taken was reckless, careless, and irresponsible.
Thank you, Lionel. Christina, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. When I read the article, I was very concerned because, as Lionel had said, it seemed as if our mayor was representing the city and not her own opinion. This has happened before. It happened when we were discussing the crude by rail, and there was an op-ed piece in the Chronicle that we actually had to get outside attorneys involved with because they thought that the mayor had overstepped herself in that article. You know, the fact is, we have a refinery here. And most of us moved here knowing that we had a refinery here. We have to make them the best neighbor, and we also have to be the best neighbor. I just don't feel as if our mayor wants to play that game. And I've been up here with her. I know her stance, and it's just not flexible. So I think that it's important that we get varied opinions up here so that the community is being represented. So I feel like that's a good reason to elect me. Thanks.
Thank you, Christina. Question 5, we will be starting with Carrie. Given the recent rate restructuring for the city's water rates, what is your plan to combat the continued rate increase during your term?
Thank you for that question. The water rate increases impacted my family and household, along with so many Benicians. And the higher water bills are really hard to swallow. Anybody that's on social media can see the pain that it's causing our community. As I've knocked on doors throughout Benicia the past few months, I've heard from so many people that they want relief, they want action, and they want somebody to care. I care, and I want to explore our options on this front. It was a difficult decision that the City Council of 2016 did to address after so many years of kicking the can down the road. Addressing our crumbling infrastructure was the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do because we want future generations of Benicians to have access to clean water, and that's not a God-given right. Just ask the residents of Flint, Michigan, Newark, New Jersey. Their leadership failed them, and they do not have access to clean water now. It's a very expensive process to do this, but I care. I want to look into our options on how to provide relief and stop the increases to figure out, you know, some other way to finance it. But we do need to update our infrastructure.
Thank you, Carrie. Lionel, you
Sure.
have 90 seconds.
So I want to tell you how I feel, what I've done, and what I will do as the next member of council. I'm frustrated. I would tell you to tear up your bills, but that would be irresponsible, probably illegal, and I don't want to get you guys in trouble with debt collectors. What I have done on this topic is, as a resident, your neighbor, I've been protesting this back to 2016. That is documented. You can search for it online. I appeared at council and wrote several letters to the editor. Now, as to the action, what we will do in the next council is we will freeze the rates where they are right now. We will go beyond that, and we will bring back discounts to those with fixed incomes, and we will extend that to nonprofits. And let me give you an example of why we need to support our nonprofits. An organization that's close to me that I support, the Benicia Teen Center, they rent a house, they have kids there, they pay the water bill. They are not rich people. We are going to go back to our representatives at the state and federal level and ask for money. We do not ask for help, and we need to get better at that. And then lastly, repairing our infrastructure is extraordinarily expensive. We will have to look at private-public partnerships, because the reality is Benicia will never have enough money to pay for this. And in some, this was 100% avoidable. As your next council member, I will be active, because this could have been
thank you.
avoided if we had planned it and
Thank you,
stopped
Lionel.
deferring maintenance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christina, you
Thank
have
you.
90 seconds.
Thank you. I was on the council in 2016. I was the swing vote on this rate increase. A lot of things happened. One of them, I didn't get reelected, but also the water meters themselves started registering 100% accuracy. So all of a sudden, the people that were paying their water bills were now finding out that they were actually paying less before. Again, there's a lot of whys this happen, and again, gets back to our mayor. She likes to tell us why, but she's not listening to our residents. And as Carrie mentioned, on social media, it's just ablaze with people that are really hurting here. I came before council last Tuesday night and asked them for where we stand with our water funds, our sewer funds. And this is important because those two funds were in jeopardy when we voted for this in 16. So there is no planned meeting to discuss this. I'm going to stay on it because, as Lionel says, we need to freeze things until we find out where we stand with both our water fund and our sewer fund. I stand by my vote because I know what was going on at that time.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. William, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, my wife and I spent 12 years salvaging a condemned home, and we sold it. We barely had enough money to move to Benicia. And I really don't understand the complaining about not being able to pay for water. I certainly agree with helping those who need help with it. I think that's very easy to establish, and I feel that those that can carry the burden should carry the burden, and I feel that the commercial enterprises that bring business to the city that happen to use a lot of water should be given some consideration. And so my feeling on this sensitive subject is that those in need should get help, and those that can give help should help carry the burden. It is that simple. It should not be a matter of complaining to people who are simply like to whine on social media. And that's just how I am. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Question number 6, we'll start with Lionel. If you could change one thing about Benicia, what would it be, and how would you go about doing it?
It's a very interesting question, because I love Benicia. So I'm inclined to say there's nothing I would change. But to answer the question, the one thing, and I think many residents feel the same way, is too many conversations in our community start at no. And as the next member of council, working with my peers and the stakeholders, I would like us to take a different point of view and be more open-minded and look at both sides of an issue and be as pragmatic as possible when it comes to addressing the issues that face our community, large and small. That's the one thing I would change. Let's get past no, and let's take a look at things and get to a point where we can empirically say this is good or bad for Benicia. Because the unintended consequence of this approach at the moment is, many of the natives will know this, we talk about things in Benicia for a long time, and sometimes it's longer than 10 years. And to get things done in this community, like water, like roads, we've got to be more open-minded, more independent, and operate as swiftly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Lionel. Christina, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. I have spent the last 30 years with a passion for our town, the revitalization of our downtown, which is the window to our community. We have through the years, changed the look of the downtown. It's gone from a lot of antique stores to a lot of boarded up buildings to really right now a vibrant downtown. And we've just got 3 new businesses that have opened. It's very exciting to see what's going on. So what would I change about our town? It's like getting our residents to come down and enjoy this. We started the farmers market 26 years ago to do that very thing, for our residents to understand that they have this amazing downtown. And I think more and more people are coming, up to 3,000 or 4,000 people a week come to the farmers market. And that message we're trying to get out, not only to our residents, but throughout the Bay Area and beyond. So we're a hidden secret, and I don't want it to be secret anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
Again, I'd like to invite you to my town hall meeting tomorrow at Pizza Pirate between 7 and 9, and I'll show you how we're going to move faster into the future at Benicia. I would always keep in mind that at commemorating the 25th year of our wonderful library, which is the jewel of Benicia, Marilyn O'Rourke said, "It's always been difficult to come to a decision in Benicia." I think that maybe at my town hall meeting we could discuss how we might hasten that process. And I think too many times that we think we're going to work for a consensus. We get together at a table, we come together, we discuss something, we establish something everyone can agree on, and then we agree on the minimum. That what we should be doing is coming to the table, each with something that they own, and coming to the table not only with that, but with the knowledge of the other party. It would be almost as if we were talking with ourselves. And instead of falling down to the lowest point, we would go to a higher point. That's the kind of consensus I would like to see achieved in Benicia. Come to the town meeting.
Thank you, William. Carrie, you have 90 seconds.
So I don't really understand what you mean about always starting with no. We have very rich discussions here in Benicia. We have consensus building that often takes time, but we get the benefit of the best thinking of our community members. And I think what I would change would be to enhance that process, to have more workshops on definitely the big issues that are facing our community. Have them at different times during the week and day so different types of stakeholders can attend. Many of us work in outside of our community, and a nighttime workshop would work. Many of us are staying at home and raising families and working from home, and we could attend those type of workshops. So enhancing the rich discussion making and learning throughout our community on the important issues that we face.
Thank you, Carrie. Question number 7, we will start with Christina. With businesses facing increasing fees and more regulations, what will you do if elected to ensure that Benicia is looked upon as a business-friendly city? You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. As a business owner, I know that it's challenging. It's very challenging to do retail in this era of the internet and lots of competition. I feel like we have lost sight of our economic development in this town. We're downsizing it, we're not staffing it, we're not really communicating with our businesses. And if we do, we're not doing anything with that information. I'm very concerned about our economic development program. And I feel like there are certain businesses out there that really could use our help in communicating with each other. A long time ago, it's probably been 15 years ago, I asked if we could get a database for all of our different businesses in the industrial park. That's never happened. I continue to ask for it, but until we are able to reach our businesses to know what their concerns are, it's very frustrating. The fees are somewhat out of line, and that was adopted this past year. I think we need to review those because we want to encourage businesses to be more successful. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, again, what was the question, please? I'm sorry. I was listening to Christina.
With businesses facing increasing fees and more regulations, what will you do if elected to ensure that Benicia is looked upon as a business-friendly city?
I'm sorry, looked on as a business-friendly city.
Yes.
I would say that I talked with Nancy Martinez of Benicia Main Street, and her take was that we just need to encourage more Benicia residents to come down. As a matter of fact, a very important person is leaving Benicia next month, and he is a small businessman in the finest sense of the word. The Benicia Herald became a small business in 1962, and we're losing that editor to Vacaville. And we're losing that man, Nick, who's sitting right there, because the subscription rate of the Benicia Herald is dropping. We are not walking the walk when it speaks to small business in Benicia. We've cut back on the daily publication to 3 days a week. The editor of the owner of the Benicia Herald says a good community deserves better, and we are not supporting that business. And if we supported that business stronger, I'm sure we would support all the small businesses stronger, and that certainly is what we need. Can we give a hand to Nick, please?
Thank you, William. Carrie, you have 90 seconds.
So I ran a small business in this town for 6 years. I had a consulting firm here. And the fees that I paid, I didn't think they were out of line. I see the fact that we have more and more businesses coming to our community, opening up their doors as a healthy environment, not an anti-business environment. When the question said more fees and more regulations, the fees that were just corrected by the city were put to be in line with what it takes the city to do business, and they're still less than neighboring cities. So, and regulations, the regulations are put there by our city leadership, and this town helped us put those regulations in place. So I think it's a very family-friendly, business-friendly community, and I think we're getting a lot of things right.
Thank you, Carrie. Lionel, you'll have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So economic development, again, is mission critical to the success and future of our community. And I believe the council should work tirelessly to create a level of liberty, so to speak, for businesses to run, operate, and grow as efficiently as possible. With respect to the fees, as a resident and as a representative of the Economic Development Board, we did protest and aggressively protest those fee hikes, because those hikes went up over 400% across the board. And there's nothing in line about that. They went up that high because it's yet another example of a council that kind of deferred, in this case, the administration of its fees. The next council needs to be active and bring costs into line, but it needs to be in incremental fashion. Most of our businesses are small, and this also pertains to residents as well. If you have a retaining wall, that fee probably now is $2,000 just to have someone come out and give you a piece of paper. So we need to take a look at all of those and see the ones that are having the most impact on businesses expanding as well as the residents, and look seriously at rolling some of those back. I would support that, and I think the first step is to get feedback from our businesses and the residents who have recently filed for fees and permits.
Thank you, Lionel. For our next question, we will begin with William. What are your feelings about implementing a port-related tax on Benicia businesses?
I think that needs to be closely looked at. I think it's a very complex issue, and over the years, the issue is typical of everything that happens in Benicia. It becomes too complicated for anybody to understand. I think it should be looked at as in the terms of fairness. The port is receiving a service from the city. What should they fairly pay for that service? I was at a city council meeting where we could not come up with a comparable situation. The staff was too busy to have really looked into it. And so I think that we should look at it some more. I hate to say that. And I think that we should come to a fair solution rather than one we're wrangling over some insane legal requirements or constructing some legal framework. It isn't a legal issue, it's an issue of fairness. It's an issue of fairness to Amports and an issue of fairness to this city.
Thank you, William. Carrie, you have 90 seconds.
At the very heart of that question is a deal that was made many, many years ago behind closed doors and affected us well into our future. And that was a long time ago when that agreement was made. I have talked with representatives from Amports. They're willing to talk with the city and the community to figure out what's best for our community. They want to start over. There's a lot of scar tissue that's built up between Amports and our city, and I think bringing fresh, new ideas and new council people to the table will help. We need to build trust between our biggest neighbors and our community and our city. I think we're absolutely on the right track with our new city government. We have a tremendous new city manager who's retaining talent and staff, and we're finally going to be able to get out of crisis mode and start being proactive in our management of this city. And that means talking to Amport anew.
Thank you, Carrie. Lionel, you have 90 seconds.
I would not support a port tax. I think singling out a business in this community is inconsistent with the message we're trying to send with respect to economic development to both our existing and potential businesses. It's an easy way out of solving a very complicated problem. I think we also need to be conscious of the fact that if this goes through, you have a slippery slope. When we need money, who are we going to go after next? I think what we should do instead, and this pertains to all businesses in town, they're not all the same as Amports. I do agree in principle that they could provide the city with additional revenue that would benefit us and I think them as well. And I would take a different approach. And I would approach them to discuss how we can collaborate with them and generate revenue through alternative means. Call it a fee, some kind of measure of revenue that was generated, but I'm against a tax because I think it's inconsistent with the message that we are trying to send to existing and potential businesses here in town.
Thank you, Lionel. Christina, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. The lease agreement we have with Amports goes to 2032, I believe. So we've got several more years to deal with this unless we can bring Amports to the table. I'd like to look at, instead of a port tax, maybe doing partnerships with Amports in the final restoration of our Southern Pacific Depot at the end of First Street. Every year they build a ramp for ADA accessibility and then tear it down after the Halloween activities are finished. So why not bring Amports to the table and build actually access to that freight room that we've been wanting for a very long time. There's a lot of other things that I'd like to partner with Amports on, like Pine Lake, which is our entry to our town. Right now it's used for storage and it is an eyesore. It's one of the things that really bugs me. So I'd really like to see what we could do as far as bringing airports and looking at other options for their storage, but to utilize that space either for development or clean it up. So I think we have a good opportunity, but we just can't continue to threaten lawsuits back and forth. It's getting the city nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. For our 9th question, we will begin with Kari. What is your understanding of what the Benicia Economic Development Council does, and what should it do?
I defer that question to the chair of the.
Thank you. Can I have her time?
Just in order here,
All
just
night.
in order.
I know what they're supposed to do. I haven't read their minutes or attended their meetings in a few months, but it's to promote the economic vitality and sustainability of our community and provide our city leadership the tools to do that. They're the first line of defense with ideas, or the first group that gets to hear new ideas from community members, gets to review proposed economic development ideas and permits. And I think they provide a very important service to our community, but I do think that we need to be more proactive. We need to be actively going out and searching for new businesses to diversify our tax base, and especially to revitalize our industrial park.
Thank you, Kari. Lionel, you only have 90 seconds.
Well, I just want to say I'm flattered for being singled out here tonight with a question about the committee that I'm honored to serve on. I'm also honored that I have been restated. This is my 2nd term as the chairman of the Economic Development Board. I'm proud of what we do, what we've accomplished. I'm also honored to serve with good men and women who care about this community. We, as the Economic Development Board, are advocates. We are ears, and we gather information on what our businesses, large and small, care about. We seek to understand what are the issues that impact them the most, and we ask them how it can get better. There are several things that we have accomplished while I have served on the Economic Development Board, along with the board. As mentioned earlier, we protested the over 400% spike in business fees and permits, because that impacts small businesses in town. We protested the increase in water rates, because that was going to make it more difficult for our restaurants, our hair salons, and so forth to operate. We also participated in bringing the lights to First Street. We have launched business walks, where with our economic development director, we have brought City Hall to the businesses of this community. We've hit every retail shopping center in this town, and we're actually in the middle of walking the industrial park, if you can believe that. It's a little tricky, but our aim is to get the information from our businesses and bring that back to our council.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Lionel. Thank you. Christina, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. As the former chair of economic development, I thank you for this question as well, because it is truly, I think, one of the most important boards in our community. It is driving our economy, and it is a group of people, board members, that in some ways and in some cases actually lobby for economic ideas. For instance, the tourism program that we did. We put together stakeholders. We came to council over staff's recommendation and got the recommended from staff was $75,000. We got over $300,000 to launch a successful tourism program. Now, a lot of you may think, well, that's a lot of money. But since then, it's $50,000 a year, and that's hardly anything to do any kind of advertising promotion. We are lucky to have Jack Wolf Communications, who is an expert in this kind of thing. When people talk about economic development and wanting to attract businesses, we don't have a lot of places to put them. The industrial park is almost 99% occupied. Downtown is almost 99% occupied. Our commercial centers are also. So where we have to look is strengthening our businesses that are out there to make them more successful so they employ more people, which brings more revenue to our town. So I have a whole different concept about economic development that is reality.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
I can't say that I'm really familiar with the agenda of the Economic Development Committee, but I can say I'm familiar with what the city is doing, and they certainly reflect what the city wants. I've talked with Lori Tenfo, our city manager, and they've been looking into putting a hotel on that blank lot on First Street. I've talked with Mariano Giuliani. He went the distance in trying to get Biorad to come to Benicia. For a variety of reasons, he wasn't successful. We all know that Mayor Patterson did manage to get the car manufacturer Coda to store houses here. That didn't go anywhere. So I think the Economic Development Commission, as well as everybody on the staff of Benicia, is just pulling hard to bring business to our city. And I'm not really sure what we could do more with the staff that we have. I think that we should be very pleased with what has been done.
Thank you, William. Candidates, I think we have room for one more question, maybe two more, but for sure one. So this question will start with Lionel. Please have each candidate state their opinion on cannabis. You have 90 seconds.
So, for the record, and those watching at home, I am not a prohibitionist, I'm not a moralist, and I accept the rights of adults as guaranteed by our state constitution of California. But thanks to our mayor and our vice mayor, you can now buy marijuana with a license, you can sell marijuana, and you can grow marijuana. Now, it's none of my business what you do in your home. It's not the council's business what you do in your home. But on the next council, it will be my business to ensure that our children and our families are protected. The mayor and Steve Young's ordinance has no buffer around parks, places of worship, youth centers, karate studios, basically every location where children in this town will gather. That will be addressed in the next council. And the reason why it will be addressed, because it is the responsibility of the city council to ensure that Benicia remains a family-friendly community. And I want to make sure that we have the most comprehensive cannabis ordinance in town. Those businesses are welcome, but families come first, and we will do our best to accommodate their locations, but it will not come at the expense of the family and children here in Benicia. Thank you.
Thank you, Lionel. Christina, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, thank you. When the cannabis issue came forward, I came before council several times, but mostly because I felt like they were really fast-tracking it. And a lot of the decision-making was done in the middle of the night, and I can remember the mayor saying it was a lightning round of decision-making. And that's not good governing. We need to really have waited, seen how other communities embraced it. I have no problem with legalized marijuana. I think it's been very helpful, especially medicinal use for people that really are trying to find relief in pain. But I do have a problem with the fit here in Benicia. I was very, very involved with keeping it out of our downtown. It was not a good fit downtown, and I had several of our business, a majority of our business, say that. Our schools, our superintendent came here, our school board members, principals, kids came here and said they did not want cannabis in our downtown. And it was ignored. And that's one of the first times I've ever seen that happen up here, where you have such engaging people testimony and it was ignored. We do have to look out for our kids. And I think by agreeing to this, these dispensaries, it's sending the wrong message. And that's, I will continue to fight for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, I agree with Lionel and Christina. I don't know about Christina, but I don't drink even. I stood right there. I stood right there. I was able to stand right there. I don't mean to point. And I supported Chief Upson when he stood there and told the city that he was surprised that we did not have an ordinance that you needed a permit to have alcohol in our city park. We did not have that ordinance, and on the chief of police urging, we now have that ordinance, and I believe the same applies to cannabis. That we should have zones where it is not allowed.
Thank you, William. Kari, you have 90 seconds.
So I was on the Planning Commission that carefully, over many, many hours of testimony, public testimony, many different meetings, many educational workshop meetings that this community was involved in. Our Planning Commission was involved in a zoning ordinance to bring legal cannabis to our community, and while ensuring the safety of our children and our families. How cannabis is coming to our town is through two ordinances, the public safety ordinance and the zoning ordinance. Our chief of police was there every step of the way in legalizing cannabis, bringing legal cannabis to our community. He will ensure, he and his folks will ensure that that cannabis will not be a safety nuisance. And in addition, because we took advantage of the timing of the state legalizing cannabis, we will have additional funds to enforce cannabis laws and keep it away from our kids, and also education in our schools. And I felt like that was a very valuable part of what we did.
Thank you, Kari. Candidates, we have time for one more question. This final question, we will start with Christina. How will you handle using larger portions of the general fund to meet employee pension funding? 90 seconds.
Okay, this is going to be an issue, definitely. It's already an issue going forward. One of the things is we're not the only city that's facing this. Many other cities are dealing with this type of debt going forward. And I feel like there will be some opportunities, whether it's floating a bond or looking at other ways of generating revenue to pay for these incurred debt. I do not want to touch Measure C. When we went to the voters, we said that that would help keep the city afloat, but 50% of it at least would go to roads, infrastructure improvement, safety. This was a high priority for our citizens. And I think that we have to be honest and truthful to them moving forward. I think that there are other cities that are dealing with it. I believe in Campbell, they are looking at a bond issue for the debt. But we have to really realize that this is something that just didn't happen. It's been in the making for many years, and we are going to need to deal with it. So I'm open to suggestions and looking at what other cities are doing, and even getting help from our elected officials on the state level. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. William, you have 90 seconds.
Okay, this is a case, from my perspective, will be invaluable to the council. In addition to Social Security, I receive 3 pensions. 2 of them are fixed term, and 1 is indexed. One of the pensions I receive is called in critical declining status, so I'm well aware of the problem. Taxing our citizens is not going to solve the problem. It goes back to what I said, that everyone is going to have to shoulder the burden. When I was talking with the firemen, they want us to be full behind full-time health care for them. And I said, that may not be possible. Your benefits are very generous to begin with. I don't want to cripple everyone else's future to guarantee you something more, as deserving as you may be. The pension systems that I'm involved with, they have various approaches to the problem. All of them are painful. It's painful for the city to pay up the ante, and it's painful for a person to have to reduce his expectations. But this is the reality. I've talked with Councilman Tom Campbell about this, and I've talked extensively with a former member of the Finance Commission, Michael Clark. So in every regard, I'm well aware of it, and I would bring that awareness and knowledge to the council. It's a very important problem.
Thank you, William. Kari, you have 90 seconds.
I agree that it's an important and pressing. I agree that it's an important and urgent problem facing our city's economic future. But as Christina says, we're not alone, and we shouldn't bear the burden on our own shoulders. We need to look at what other communities are doing to address it, but more importantly, we need to work with our state electeds and figure out what to do at the state level to fix this problem. It's a problem of the future because we're not thinking about new creative ideas and how to give our working folks retirement, equitable and retirement. We need to think outside of the box, and it needs to be at the state level, and we need to come together as a community, figure out with other communities how to address it, and then change the laws at the state level.
Thank you, Kari. Lionel, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So the next council, and really councils potentially for generations, really need to look at this issue in 3 phases. The first phase is the past. If you are in the system, if you benefit from these pensions, we will honor our obligations. Then there is the present. As Christina alluded to, the next council will enter into contract negotiations with various members of city workers. We will approach that discussion from a position of empathy rather than animosity, and we will treat our city employees, with respect. And in tandem, with respect to present solutions, we really need to keep focused on economic development. We need to keep generating revenue that's going to help fund these things. I like what the council started a discussion on, which is kind of socking away money, and that is, I think, hope or inspiration of an example of when the council is active. We need to continue down that path. And then with respect to the future, I look forward to working with my peers on councils across the state to work with the next governor of California to move forward on fair incremental reforms to our pension system that will include all stakeholders so that we can find a system that is sustainable, because it is mission critical that we find a system that is sustainable, because it's running out of money, and that is a reality we must face. But I think in the meantime, we honor our commitments and we work to solve it for Benicia.
Thank you, Lionel.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the questions for this evening, so we will now go to our closing statements. We will work in reverse of our opening statements, which means we will start with Christina. You have 3 minutes, Christina.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see all these familiar faces down in the audience, and my family that's here, my husband and my son and his husband. I'm very happy that you're here, the Gavins. It's wonderful support we have in this community, and I am very fortunate to have been involved on a lot of different levels. I have a top 10 list of things that I'd like to see happen for the future of Benicia. One of them starts with freezing our water rates and sewer rates, and developing a point person for complaints, like a water hotline. I'd like to see us reestablish our water conservation program. We were one of the most successful cities in the state in conservation, and that can only help us in lowering some of the rates. Measure C sales tax, which I talked about a minute ago, we need to keep those funds for the roads. There's a lot of chatter right now on social media about, what about my street? What about this street? Why are we resurfacing Water's End? We just had that street resurfaced. So we need more accountability about what's going on with our roads, but I definitely want to keep Measure C for that infrastructure improvements. We need to build on our small town charm. And that is prevalent in the activities that are going on downtown. We have a thriving Benicia Main Street program, which I was very involved with when it started. And it is amazing what a small staff of people can do to like 27 events, promotional events and big events during the year. I congratulate them, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else is up their sleeve. Bringing high-speed internet to the industrial park. No, we still don't have it out there. I believe that the Economic Development Board went and visited 25 businesses, small businesses out there that still can't get internet. That is not acceptable. How can we possibly service our businesses out there if we don't have internet? Attract new entrepreneurs to our city. We need to cut the red tape. We need to be more business friendly. We need to be creative in attracting these businesses. I'm so thrilled about these new businesses that are appearing on First Street. We need to pledge to retain our successful companies. We need to listen to our citizens. And mostly we need to promote our award-winning schools and develop a much better relationship between the city and the school district. And lastly, making safety our #1 priority. Safety in our schools, neighborhoods, our businesses. It should be all of ours #1 priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christina. Lionel, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. So for my closing remarks, I want to start out by thanking retiring council members Mark Hughes and Alan Schwartzman for their outstanding service to this community over the years, who, along with current council member Tom Campbell, who's not up for re-election, have provided a balanced point of view on your Benicia City Council. Goes without saying that this is an important election here in Benicia. So if you are frustrated with your rising water and sewer costs, tired of waiting for your street to get on the repair list, and concerned about a council vulnerable to a monopoly, then the clearest sign of public outrage or change on the city council is to vote for Lionel Largaspada. I am committed to public safety, preserving all that makes Benicia great and glorious. I'm committed to making water and sewer costs affordable again. I'm committed to getting your street on the road repair list. We didn't talk about roads, but for the folks on James Court, Mills Drive, Highland, El Bonito, West 7th, and so forth, this is our current list. It's a little short. We're going to get you on that list. And we're going to do all of this through measured economic development, not through higher taxes and more fees. Friends, I love Benicia, and I, like you, am proud to call this my home. I would be honored to serve you on the City Council, and I am prepared to earn your vote. So if you have any outstanding questions or concerns, I encourage you to find me on Facebook or check out my website. It's pretty simple, votelionel.com. As your next council member, I will always be available to you. I want to thank everyone for attending. I want to thank the interest at home, and God bless Benicia. Good night.
Thank you, Lionel. Kari, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you all for being here tonight and for some wonderful questions. I think we really, through your questions, we really got a sense of who's running for City Council, what we stand for, and what our vision for the future looks like. I started my remarks by saying that we need to be proactive and creative thinking for our future. Throughout our town's long history in terms of California history, Benicia has been known for so many different things: a shipbuilding town, a Pony Express backup plan, the third state capital for a brief time, the county seat for a bit, and of course, the Army's West Coast Arsenal. But two assets have been constant in our town: our community of artists and our industry. Benicia has attracted and held on to so many artists: London and Robert Arneson. And today, Benicia remains home to a vibrant art community. As a city, we need to nurture and promote our artists, their talents, and their work. Industry. We've heard a lot about industry this evening. Benicia, Christina says that it's 99% filled. Is it filled with the right type of businesses for our future? I've already talked about the importance of updating and building an industrial park for the future. I see a future for that industrial park that has a vibrant, state-of-the-art, diversified businesses where clean tech companies are lining up on a waiting list to get in. Let's work together towards a community that provides affordable housing that allows all kinds of people, young, old, all income levels, to call Benicia home. I see a Benicia where we take care of our aging population with possibly a senior center while allowing our kids and grandkids to be able to rent, own, and buy homes in Benicia. I see a future of access to clean air and clean water in Benicia, thanks to smart city leadership. I see a vibrant downtown that has retained our historic small town charm. Let's start planning for that future at the end of this year. I want to be your next city council person, and I will do all of those things. I thank you for your vote this November, and it's birdseyeforbenicia.com. Thanks.
Thank you, Kari. Finally, William, you have 3 minutes.
First, I would like to thank probably the great number of people that drive Benicia, work hard, and are very quiet. I recognize Nick Sostanovich, who is leaving us for some reason, and I'd also like to recognize my spouse, who's over there in the corner trying to be ignored. She just retired as a paraprofessional for the Benicia Unified School District. She had probably one of the most difficult jobs in town, one that we would like to think did not exist. She was a paraprofessional assisting emotionally disabled students. And Sharon did a lot to remedy that problem. And there are a lot of people like that in Benicia. I'd like to remind you that I've been a member of a retiree support group in Contra Costa County. We have been actively engaged in reforming the pension system for 10 years. I would be your boots on the ground on the council. I worked many months in refineries. I know them as you do not. I would bring another perspective to our council. The great majority of what I've done in the last several years is that I was a primary caregiver for my mother-in-law from 2010 to 2016. It was quite a labor raising our son. We have a great reward for that. He just graduated in 2 years from the University of California, Berkeley in the School of Architecture. I expect him to return here and design the buildings we're going to use in the future. Yes. And my website is, again, www.electwillemes.com, and I cordially invite you to my town meeting at Pizza Pirate, and I would like to hear very much what you have more to say. Thank you.
Thank you, William. This concludes the candidates' night for this evening. I'd like to thank our candidates, William Eames, Carrie Birdseye, Lionel Largaspada, and Christina Strawbridge for being here this evening. Thank you very much.